Hi everyone. I'm here today with Richard Mills from Mr. Charger. Richard, I'm right in saying you're the founder, right?
Yes, there's two of us. My business partner Martin Wells as well. But yeah, myself and Martin founded the business.
Brilliant. Okay, so just to start off, firstly, can you just tell me about what Mr. Charger offers your customers? What service or product do you provide them?
Yes, certainly. We're in a hot topic. So our business provides electric vehicle charging solutions for people at their homes, businesses. So in domestic or commercial environments, we will supply and install electric vehicle car charging equipment and obviously maintain those as well. So that's the core of our business. There's some other products that we're launching right now in terms of renewable energy. So battery storage for people's homes and solar installations. But the business's core at the moment is electric vehicle charging.
Right. Okay. So you're effectively helping to create a network of charging locations, on that kind of commercial level, and then also helping people like myself who might be thinking about buying an electric vehicle at some point to be able to charge that on the garage, in the garage or on the drive.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So day to day, yeah, everyone that's driving electric vehicles, of which there's a lot more out on the road now, and businesses as well, where they're changing their fleets over to electric vehicles, electric vans, or just providing charging for people turning up at work. So yeah, a whole mix of reasons really.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you something which I'm sure you'll know some sort of answer to. What percentage of, if we talk about the UK, kind of what percentage of people now are driving cars, or what percentage of the market are electric vehicles or hybrids, for that matter?
Yeah, it changes a lot. So probably outdated even as we speak. But I think at the moment it's something like 20% of cars that are sold are electric or some form of electric or hybrid. So it's massive growth, especially over the last 6 to 12 months, a real big shift. Obviously, that's tempered with car manufacturers are bringing out a lot more models and vehicles nowadays, seeing big shifts from the vehicle manufacturers. So about 20% of car sales, probably, and it's ever increasing, are electric now.
Okay, and obviously as the regulations come in for, you're not able to buy like new diesel cars from year X, whatever it is. That's only going to increase, isn't it? And as people are become more educated, I guess, around electric vehicles, that's just going to go up and up, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And people's perception of what the vehicles are actually like as well. A lot more choice. Obviously, historically, only expensive cars, but now that changes quite a lot. There's a lot of availability of cheaper electric vehicles now. One of our clients that we work with, leasing company Dream Lease, they brought out a massive deal for Peugeot, their electric car, £200 a month. So it's changing very, very rapidly in terms of the availability, the range of different vehicles for customers, and the price points as well.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I know. I've been skirting with the idea of when to kind of get into this, myself, because I've never owned an electric vehicle, but I'm on the cusp of thinking now is getting nearer the time where it's actually the right time to do so. So this is interesting, actually, this chat from a personal perspective as well. So anyway, I'll leave that to one side for now. But so to tell me about Mr. Charger then, Richard, like what led to you guys starting the business originally before franchising was kind of conceived of, and how did you decide on the name? I mean, the name's a kind of an obvious one, but always deciding on a name. I'm always interested to see how that came about. So
yeah, sure. So a bit of a story. So my business partner Martin Wells, friends since school, best friend. So it was his idea about looking into this field and this sector. He was driving to work every day on the motorway, and he was an IT consultant. That was his background. I was working in banking and finance, on the operations side, and we wanted to change. Wanted to do something different. And I think he kept thinking, what can I do, or what can we do, as he's driving around up to work. And that's when he stumbled, thought about it back in 2016. So wow. I don't really know what made him think of it, because obviously it wasn't at the forefront of my mind or a lot of people's. And so we then just started looking into it, and obviously piqued our interest, looking at it at work. How do we change our industry that we're involved in? We basically just started doing some electricians courses to become qualified electricians, learning about it, and thought, if we just do that, at least we can do some work on our homes if nothing else comes of it. As we looked into it more and more, obviously you get more and more invested into something mentally. Didn't know where it was going to take us, certainly not to here. And yeah, we completed the courses in our free time, in holiday, taking time off work to do so. And at that point, then it was like we set up the website and learned a lot more about installing electric vehicle charging points. And it was then come to a point in 2018 where it was like, we either do this or we never will. And really the funny part about it is we did have the website, we were getting some inquiries, we got support. At the time, one of the biggest manufacturers out there, Rolex, we had a really good relationship with them. They were, kind of helping us make that jump, if you like, as well. And we still, have a great relationship with them now. And it was a customer that came on to us and said, locally in Surrey, and said, I'd like to have a charger in every garage on block in this development. And it was at that point, it was like 40 odd, garages, and we're like, oh wow. Turns out none of them ever got installed, and they didn't have the right supplier. But it was the catalyst of giving us the push to go, we need to go and do this now. So we took a leap of faith, and obviously friends, family were like, what are you doing? It was such a different market back then. But it was great. We took the leap, we left our jobs and started installing charging points. We learned a lot, because obviously until you do something, and you're invested in that industry, then obviously the regulations were a lot different back then. It was, well, in 2018, 5 years, they changed exponentially. And we basically learned everything. So we've installed probably over 2,000 charge points personally, in business premises and in people's homes. So Martin and I learned everything, which, as obviously business owners, is very, very important. We actually physically did all those installs. So yeah, that was the catalyst of how it happened. And then the journey later on, I'm sure we'll get into, but that was the reason why we sort of changed direction.
Okay, so Mr. Charger, right? How, because picking a name for a business can be tricky, right? Especially when there's more than one person involved, especially if you start like kicking around friends and family and all that kind of stuff. So how did Mr. Charger come about?
Well, I think Martin's the more creative out of the two of us, and at the time he created a different logo to what we have now. I'll come on to that, but it was a car and a plug socket and the lead, and it looked really cool. And he's more artistic than I am, so he designed that himself and came up with a name. And obviously the name's catchy, and I think some people, as you say, have different opinions. I think some people said, you see a lot of brands where you wouldn't even know what they do from their name. And we wanted something to be obvious and about what we do. So, Martin sort of come up with that idea of Mr. Charger, and it just seemed right. And it's easy for people to remember, clients, customers. So to me, it serves quite well. People have said, I think, what about, Mrs. Charger and gender? But the thing is, Mr. is Martin and Richard Charger as well, so it kind of fitted really nicely.
Yeah, no, I get it, and no, it does. It rolls off the tongue really nicely. I agree with you. So it's a good name. And so you obviously got this traction. Did you both effectively leave your careers or your jobs at the same time, or was it one then the other, or was it all in basically?
Pretty much at the same time, yeah. So it was just like I say, we were doing it together anyway, so we both had to take a leap of faith at the same time. So yeah, we both left, and it grew quite quickly. We had to do a lot of driving, so driving a lot of different places, different customers' houses to facilitate the work back 5 years ago. So my geography of the UK, and especially Kent, Surrey, and the coast is a lot better than it was. And yeah, we just put a lot of effort into growing the business. And learning everything about it in this field.
Okay, so I'm interested to know, when did you guys start driving electric vehicles? If it was it back then? So you're obviously going around representing the brand, Mr. Charger, and what this is all about. Were you at that point? Because that long ago, the resources weren't really that great for driving an EV. Kind of and So how did you guys go about showing up in
Yeah,
the right kind of a vehicle? I'm
well,
intrigued.
it's a good question actually. I mean, obviously we couldn't afford to buy an electric vehicle. We put our money into the business, and at the time, it's funny actually saying it now, but no, we didn't have an electric vehicle. I think I took a test drive of a Tesla, but I wasn't driving around in them day to day or anything like that. So yeah, started in the industry without even probably having driven one at the time, which sounds a bit crazy now, but yeah, now we do. So we've obviously got one for work, a Volkswagen ID.3 that we use. The vans in the company aren't electric at the moment. There's quite a change and a shift in that environment, and obviously we have to make sure that the vans can turn up and do the required distance. And I say this in earnest and honesty. Vans are also changing quite quickly. So vans are a different kind of sector to day-to-day cars that have come on a lot more. The van side of things is changing a lot, but obviously there's some big players out there as well, like British Gas and other companies that have bought thousands upon thousands of any electric vans that come available. So we are really keen to move the van fleet over to electric, but obviously it needs to be something that has the range to facilitate getting to our customers and serving our customers. So I'm sure people will pick up on that, but obviously we are a business, we have to stay in business, but we want to move because there's so many benefits. A, it will save us money, but obviously B, then we turn up in an electric vehicle, which is pertinent to our brand. And also we can test the chargers. There's ways we can test and facilitate the charge at the end of it. We use the customer's vehicle or testing equipment that we have. But equally, if the customer's vehicle isn't there and we have an electric one, obviously it facilitates it a lot better as well. So that change is coming very quickly. But yes, now we do drive electric vehicles and they are amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. Not 5 years ago, but that's what I'm hearing now. So it's like it definitely is changing. And so you started this business together, and it's obviously going really well. When do you remember or recall the first time that, hey, we could franchise this business, and even that terminology? Like, how did you come to understand that was a thing? That was something that wasn't just McDonald's related, because franchising and McDonald's are what most people that don't understand about franchising kind of come up with when you say what's a franchise. McDonald's is a franchise and all this kind of stuff. So tell me about how you understood and found out about franchising.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because more and more as you're immersed in this industry of franchising, you realize there's so many brands that are a franchise organization, and still finding out more and more that it just amazes me all the time. So yeah, I think a lot of your restaurant chains are right. That Clark's Shoes, McDonald's, as you say. There's so many. Costa, Subway, etc. And for us, it was Martin and I had spent a couple of years learning the business, installing charge points, and understanding what we do, and scaling it to a point where maybe we were doing about 70 installations a month. And obviously, between the two of us, that was a very busy period, as well as dealing with all the usual running a business, whether it's accounts, marketing, talking to clients, and we were run ragged, to be honest with you. And we were looking at it, and obviously at that time we built quite a lot of some good relationships with the electric vehicle charging point manufacturers that obviously then needed installers to go and install their equipment. We're like, well, how do we scale this business? Because if we hire a few electricians, we're still only local installers, whereas actually, obviously, our clients are going to want to deal with 10 or 20 installers across the country rather than 2,000, smaller companies. So how do we scale and meet their needs and the market? We know this market is going to grow exponentially. The growth is exponential, and it's growing all the time at a very fast rate. And that's when when we're, funny enough, in COVID, in the lockdown, having that lovely weather, but all the different things associated with COVID and stuff like that, we took a bit of a time to think maybe that's how we scale it. Looked into it more, and it made sense that obviously we can have local franchisees that are able to interact with local customers, whether that be someone that needs an in-person survey to go and look at their home to see if it's suitable or what the job would entail, or a car dealership that can actually contact that person firsthand at Mr. Charger to speak about their customers and build that relationship. So that's what prompted us, really. And then obviously we started delving into it more. And like anything, when you open up, it's like a can of worms. Where do you start? We went to the BFA, and there were some really good companies along the way. Coconut Creative, that are in franchising, really supported us and helped us. We've got great contacts through the BFA, great franchise lawyer, if you like, as well, that helped us draft the agreements. And it was I find it a really supportive network of people within franchising to help each other. So yeah, that's the kind of journey.
No, great. No, it's always interesting to hear. And so when did you? What was the date where you actually thought we're a franchise now? We're a franchise business. Like, do you think that yet? Like, how do you look at yourselves now as a franchise business?
Yeah, we do. That is, a big part of what we do. I think there's two facets to our business. Is obviously the head office core operations, and with that we do have our own installation and engineers, because obviously we have to set the standard, work out looking at new products, new services, and have a team that actually physically does installations as well. So we have that as our core business, as well as the other part, which is really important equally, is the franchise business. So there's two hats on there, but yeah, holistically we are heavily invested in franchising. That's where we're going to grow the business. And like I say, our own head office and engineer network is to support that franchise network as well.
Right. Okay. And so Richard, when did you start seeking your first franchisees or your pilot franchisees, or when did that process start?
Yeah, it was late 2020.
Yeah.
That we started that journey. So over the last couple of years.
Okay. And where are you up to so far? I mean, you're early on in your journey. Where have you got to so far in terms of franchisees and coverage?
Yeah, so the number of, we've got 10 franchisees, and they cover Northern Ireland, down in Newquay, Exeter, across Surrey, Kent, Essex, East Anglia, Peterborough, all around the M25. So there's good coverage there. And obviously we're just continuing that growth to build out a nationwide presence.
And tell me, what does that look like? So a nationwide presence is how many territories or how many franchisees? What does that look like, roughly?
In reality, I mean, obviously we got specialist company to map out the UK and build out the territories. But in reality, if we get to 25 to 30, then we can offer a really good nationwide coverage. So we've got some way to go, but obviously the teams that we've got, go above and beyond and go further than sometimes they would like, or to service our customers, because it is a van operation. So obviously everyone goes above and beyond. But I think once we get to that point of 25 to 30, then it really is a nationwide coverage business model that we can provide.
Okay, so you're not looking for 200 franchisees,
I think it's a much smaller number than that. Obviously, we will grow past that 25, 30, but that will give us a really good kind of coverage across the UK.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And so as a franchise business, you've obviously learned a lot, personally, about franchising. What would you say, if we're thinking about franchising as a business, what have been the biggest hurdles that you faced, along the way? Things maybe you didn't know, but now you know, and you think, wow, that was tough, that you've overcome, and obviously, you're still quite young in your journey. But what would you say have been the most difficult places you've been with this?
Probably there's lots of different things, because like anything, when it's new, then you are always faced with challenges, across many different facets. So we're in an industry that's growing and changing all the time. So we've got the regulation changes, if you like, that are always thrown at us. So from an electrical standpoint, just the changes that happen in that industry all the time. Plus then stuff, regulation that's specific to electric vehicle car charging. That's changed an awful lot. Like, it was going through big changes every 6 months. Manufacturers have had to adjust to that and change the way in which they manufacture their charging points, or what regulation they have to adhere to, whether it be smart regs, which about app control and all different things like that. So we obviously have to keep abreast of that. Obviously need to make sure that our franchisees understand all that regulation change as well. But then franchising is an industry in itself as well. So learning about, I think people. So obviously having managed people and teams before, but this is different because people are running their own business under your brand. So it's different from running teams in a PLC, if you like. So much different there. They have their own stresses. They come from different diverse backgrounds, so they need support in terms of what they're changing into. So I think it's many different things, and we just have to adapt and learn, like every franchisee does, or everyone does in a different environment. But I think they're the challenges, probably twofold: the changing environment regulation wise in our industry, and massive growth, which is obviously a challenge in itself. If you've got steady growth and it's a mature kind of industry, then that probably assists. But obviously this is exciting, so there's a lot going on, there's a lot changing all the time, and we're a growing business from a franchise side, so there's a lot of different things at play there.
Yeah, good challenges, I'd say, read into that. So
yeah,
that's how. So what's really interesting is you describe your guys' kind of journey in you had jobs that were secure, no doubt, and you guys decided we're going to start our own business, and at that point that was you were being truly entrepreneurial, really. You were identifying a gap in a market, a niche, a growing area, and then you were kind of putting your money where your mouths were and taking a massive risk, and that is a huge risk that you guys took. Now, and you've been through it, and you've perfected the model. It's always going to develop and it's always going to improve. We know that, especially in this type of industry. But to any potential franchisee, they really, most of them, were sat in the seats you guys were in. They've got a job, and they're thinking, I want to do something for myself. And the difference between them and you is that, but they don't want to go and do it totally by themselves. That's where they want the support of a brand. Hence, that's what's so great about franchising, is you're able to give people that aren't truly entrepreneurial, and not many people are. It's like top 1% or even less of the population are truly entrepreneurial. And so but they'll go through the same process. Potential franchisees, they are still going to be challenged by friends and family, even if they're saying we're thinking about taking on a business with Mr. Charger and so on. There's still the question, still all of that. So the fact that you can talk to people and say, we're the ones that took the risk in the first place. We made all the mistakes, and yeah, those mistakes could have cost us, but here we are. We got through them, we overcame them, and now we're a proven business model. Again, that's what franchising is all about. And I wanted to, for anyone listening, Richard, I wanted you just to let them know if they were thinking about investing in their own business, and franchising is a model that they're looking to go down, and Mr. Charger is something that is of interest. Where's their best starting point to find out more information about Mr. Charger?
So a few bits. So in terms of if they want to find out more information, obviously this information on our website, you can leave your details, and basically then someone will always get in touch with you. The way that we do it, we're not pushy at all. I think we want people that have a vested interest and a passion for finding out more about it. I think the journey into deciding if it's for them and if it's for us is a two-way thing. So basically, if they make an inquiry, there'll be a call, facilitators finding out a bit about them and a bit about us, and then it's structured in terms of through multiple meetings. At no point do we rush that. I think we get so many inquiries now for franchise, interest in taking a franchise with us. Huge amount of inquiries, but obviously we do want the right people. And as you say, I think the fact that yes, there's a brand behind it. They're still taking a massive jump. It's still a massive change. Changing from PAYE employment to running your own business, whether it's something new that you found and you create, or via a franchise, is still a big change for people. We recognise that. I don't see it as any different. So we completely understand from that angle, because we've done it as well. But in terms of that journey, that they would come onto us, make an inquiry through the website, or through the phone number, or through any of the social media channels. And basically, it's a two-way journey. There's obviously a lot of material that we can share with them, and access to the existing franchisees, the people within the head office team. They can come out and see some installations. There's a whole wealth of different things that we can share for people that want to have an interest in taking up a franchise.
Right. Okay. That's good to hear. And now, Richard, if I said to you, some of the people listening are successful independent business owners in their own right, just like you guys were before and you still are on that side. There's two, obviously, a franchise business is separate to the main core business. But those people that are running a successful independent business and are thinking about franchising as an option to grow, whatever industry or sector they're in, what are some of the key things you would say to them to either look out for, or tips, or things that they should consider, because they don't know what they don't know? That you've been through all of that, so you kind of now what you might have wanted to have known early on, or some things that someone could have told you that you've been like, that would have been great to have that heads up. You didn't, maybe, and you've got through that. But yeah, what are some of the things you would say they should be thinking about if they're at that?
Just in general, to any sector, if they're looking at franchising, you mean?
Any sector. Any business owner who's running a successful business. I mean, could be anything. I mean, could be a food brand, could be a man and van type of opportunity, could be anything at all. So in a general sense, what would you say to that person? They're just thinking about franchising as a potential way, just like you guys did. What would you say should be their first steps, or some of the tips you might give them?
Sorry, do you mean if they're looking to franchise their business?
Yes.
Okay. So probably quite a few things, I guess. Spend some time, I guess, working out what you want to achieve. Obviously, it sounds obvious, but I think someone gave you some really good advice, because when we first started, we were getting inquiries from the Middle East. Do you want to do international franchising? And it was like, oh wow, really flattering. But obviously, it's completely, we're not ready for that. And so, someone that's been a real kind of sounding board, and our franchise lawyer basically, she was like, look, if you weren't looking to do it, don't go down that road. So it's kind of, I think, sticking to what you want to achieve and what you set out to, and don't get derailed from that. And obviously, there's always opportunities, but kind of being clear with what you're looking to achieve and what your goals are in the short to medium term. Don't get distracted from those. I think also setting out, having that operations manual, so having that way in which you want it to work. Your systems are in place so that they all work and can be replicated for a franchisee. And I think probably thinking about how you want to support them. What's the model for support? Kind of many different things. And think of it, we met a few franchisees from different businesses as well, and went out and spoke to them and said, what's worked for you? What don't you like from a franchising perspective? There was quite a few things that you probably want to look at, and look at things from the franchisee perspective as well.
I think Richard, I've never heard anyone say that to me actually before, so I find that really, really interesting that you talk to franchisees from other businesses, other brands, to ask them the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you like, about being part of a franchise network. That's a really, really good tip. And as I said, no one's ever mentioned that before. So I think that's a brilliant one. Because franchising is a separate business, as you know, and it's separate to like you guys obviously got to understand, the electric vehicle market and the charging market and the infrastructure and the regulations, all of that. You got to understand that, but franchising that's a totally new, that's totally different. And so again, you go through a whole new learning experience about the legalities around franchising in general, how to structure operations manuals, basically training tools for a potential franchisee, how to create communication systems that work between a franchisee and a franchisor. And that's all new. And so I think that's what I think. A lot of companies that go down this road struggle with that. And I think, a great starting point is to talk to people that are actually franchisees of other brands and see what they think is good or bad about what's happening there. So, but yeah, no, that's great. And really last question, Richard, is, as a franchise business, so in that context, not your core business and what you started, but as a franchise business with a growing network, where do you see success? If I say, what does success look like? And it could be a projection of success, or it could be what you believe is now already successful. What would you say? What does success look like to you as a franchisor?
Yeah, well, I think success is many different things, isn't it? I mean, obviously, there's the financial kind of, growing the business, scaling it, and obviously being nationwide. But I think, true to Martin and I, we've always strived to give great customer service. And I think it's fairly fair to say that obviously as you grow, that's hard to sometimes maintain. So core to us is about the brand having great customer service and continuing that. As we scale and we grow the business, we don't want to lose that. And I think that is probably one of the most overarching things for Martin and I, giving a great service. And I think it's fair to say, along the journey where things change and evolve, there's always more that can be done. But it is always in our ethos that customer we want to give the best service to. So, that's always maintained. And I think for the brand, that only helps the brand grow if that's at the core principle. And that means, I think several different things. It's obviously giving that customer experience. We've got great technology. Martin's background is IT, which is obviously very, very helpful. If it wasn't for him, I'd really, really struggle in that kind of side of things. And then from a customer point of view, it's being able to specialize and give them really, because this is all we do. We don't do other electrical work, so we specialize in this. So people that are new to it, whether it's EV and driving their vehicle and understanding how that works, to solar, to battery, and how all that pieces together, is changing quite fast. So we can obviously give really great advice to our customers in terms of how that works, which means that they get the best product, or the best installation, or the best harmony in terms of what systems that they've got in place to monitor that. Being a specialist in this field means that we can pair up the devices and make sure they all work as they should do, rather than just doing an electrical installation. So in terms of success, it's many different things, but I think it's growing that brand to continue to provide very, very good customer service, with great systems that support that journey, and being recognized as a leading industry expert.
Right. Yeah. Customer experience, Richard. It's a number one answer. It's a good answer. And everything about that relies on your, in a franchising sense, your franchise network, the people that are in a sense of the word, your franchise partners, your franchisees, and helping them to do the best they possibly can in that area as well, as nationally as a brand. So that's great. So, well, Richard, thanks so much for your time. And it's been great having you on, and I'm sure we'll bump into you at some point or another. Franchising is a pretty small world. I keep saying this, but it really is. I've been in it for 20 years, and you don't always bump into people, but it's been great to get to know you a bit more, and hopefully we'll see you around.
Likewise, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Richard.